What's up everybody, Ryco here. Today, we've got another deck profile, but with this, we've got Pure Melodious. That's right, I can't believe I'm saying it in the year 2024. Pure Melodious is incredible. I cannot believe that they printed some of these cards. It is some of the most custom cards you'll ever read for an archetype. Before we jump into the profile, please take a moment to make sure you like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Thank you all so much. Not gonna stick on that too long. So with that, let's get into the video. Jumping right into the deck profile, we've got 3 Refrain, the Melodious Songstress. This card is essentially your main 1-card combo in this, your 1-card starter. Other than Ostinato, a lot of the times this is essentially the heart and soul. This gets you any Melodious monster, which is really good. Also, it's a Foolish Burial for a scale effect, and when you fusion summon while it's face up in the extra deck, similar to the other Pendulum monster, this can just scale itself for free. So it's very good. We definitely want to max out on all of these. For the next card, we've got 3 Couple. Now, Couple is also a fantastic card, and we definitely want to max out on her, as she can search us the in-archetype fusion spell. Also, she's essentially like a pseudo Poplar, to which when she's added to hand, you can target a Melodious in the grave and special summon that target. Overall, she's very powerful, and you definitely want to max out on her. Moving on to the next Melodious monster, we've got Triple Sonata. This is definitely one of the best extenders of the deck. If you control Melodious monster, you could just special summon her for free, and that summon is not once per turn. So if you open multiple copies, you could just summon them all out for free, and if you add them back later in the combo, it's just even more extenders. Overall, incredible card. You definitely want to max out on her. For the next extender we do play the 1 Cannon. We only play 1 because her summon effect from the hand is only once per turn, unlike Sonata, but Cannon's still very powerful, and the battle position change does come up from time to time. Overall, though, you don't really want to max out on her because she can definitely clog. Now moving on to the next Melodious monster, we've got 2 Soprano. Soprano is like a soft once per turn fusion summon and a hard once per turn add back from the grave. Overall, this is very powerful, but playing too many can be a bit bricky. That's why we're only playing 2. The being able to fuse with her as a soft once per turn definitely helps making the end board a lot better and a lot easier. And especially summoning this off the link 2 definitely comes up quite often, and having another copy in your deck, not just playing 1, does come up from time to time as well. We are playing the lock in this build, so we are playing Aria and Elegy. I've seen some people cut down on Elegy. It honestly, for the pure build, it doesn't make sense to cut this card. Overall, you want as much protection as possible, especially if you're not really making Omni Negates on your end board, which this build is not, but it's very strong. And if you have these 2 monsters, which Ostinato, I'll show you in a bit, it is a 1-card combo to where you end with both of these on the board, and it's very difficult to crack. Overall, I wouldn't cut down on these, especially Elegy. I really love these cards. Maybe you can argue siding one of these out, so like you can side out Elegy going second. I would highly recommend playing both of these as they make your end boards a lot better. And then for the last 2 Melodious monsters, we are playing the 1 Tam Tam, and of course we're playing the Shopina. Shopina's absurd. It's soft once per turn add back from the grave, and you're usually summoning her off of the new fusion monster, Baka, but we'll get to that in the combo in the end. Tam Tam is fantastic because both of her effects are not once per turn, very good, and so you can continuously burn your opponent, which does come up from time to time, and you can loop Polymerization because it can also add back from the graveyard when it's special summoned. So overall, I really like playing Tam Tam. Some builds are cutting it, but if you're playing the pure, definitely consider keeping the Tam Tam in. And that's it for the Melodious monsters. Now going into the hand traps, we are playing Triple Ash. Ash Blossom is definitely a fantastic card. It's just good generically into everything. Not much to be said about her. We're also playing Triple Veiler. Now this can just depend on the format, but so long as Snake Eyes is still running rampant, we definitely want to be playing Veiler. Hitting the Snake Eye Ash is definitely important. One of the cool things about this deck is they're all fairies, so we can definitely play Herald of Orange Light. I'm only playing 2, and I'm siding the 3rd copy, which I'll get to in a bit. I'm only playing 2 in the main because it can be a bit cloggy, and you do have to pitch a card, so drawing multiples isn't really the best, but it still is a fantastic hand trap, and you definitely do want to see it. Overall, being able to negate and destroy a monster effect is very strong, and whether you're going second into a board or you're going first and trying to protect your combos, Herald of Orange Light is an incredible card. We are playing 1 Ghost Ogre. It's hard once per turn. We don't want to ever open multiple copies, and it's going to be very good going into the Legacy of Destruction format because it hits Tenpai, it hits Voiceless. There are ways to hit Snake Eyes with this. Overall, it's a very powerful card. I would recommend having it somewhere in your deck. And then the last hand trap we play, of course, is Triple Imperm. This is Effect Veiler, but just just better because it doesn't trigger talents or thrust. Also, this is a good 6th card to draw, whereas the other hand traps, not necessarily. Maybe Herald of Orange Light, but that's about it. Overall, it's pretty self-explanatory. Imperm's just a very good card this format. Moving on to some of the broken spells. We've got triple first movement solo. Now, this is essentially the E-Telly for the deck. It does lock you, but a lot of the times, if you see a first movement solo, it's very, very good, especially if you see it paired with the level 4 pendulum, because normally you're summoning the level 4 pendulum off of this, but if you open the level 4 pendulum already, then you can just go ahead and summon the Aria before normal summoning the pendulum, and that way Aria can just protect your combo as you continue to combo out, because Aria targeting protection for all your Melodious, and so being able to just stop everything from being imperm, very, very powerful. Solo, it's an incredible card. You definitely want to max it out. And then the real broken card of the deck, which everyone knows by this point, is Ostinato. Ostinato is branded fusion, but without the lock, and it's not once per turn. You just have to control no monsters. So if one gets ashed and you open 2, you can just activate another one. It's very, very powerful. I am going to be showcasing a 1-card combo at the end of this video, so make sure to stick around. This card inherently is a +8 with this build, and it's very, very good. You'll see the power of this card very soon, but you definitely want to max out on all copies. For consistency, we are playing triple Pot of Prosperity. The fact that this is still at 3 is a bit absurd, but we're definitely going to take advantage of that. Although we do draw some cards, it's not necessary to draw some cards in the combo. It's a lot more important to search out your Ostinato, to search out your first movement solo, or to search out your combo pieces to make sure you can actually get the ball rolling. And then for the last 3 spells we're playing 1 Called By. This is just a good power 1 of to help make sure that your combos resolve. Also, if you're going second, it's a pretty good card too, as it can hit things like Promethean or Puppet. We are playing the 1 Concierto. We're only playing 1 because it is recyclable. It does put itself back on the bottom of the deck. And then we are playing the Fusion Substitute. We're not playing Poly, as Fusion Substitute also gets us a draw. This is always treated as polymerization, and you can add it back from the grave as well. And so you loop this card a few times, as you'll see in the combo. Overall, I think Fusion Substitute is the better way to go rather than Poly. And that's the main deck. Clean 40 cards. Moving on to the extra deck. For the fusions, we've got the 1 Bloom Diva. This is essentially to help break big boards, or if there's a towers monster, you can still kill them through it, because this card is absolutely absurd. It reflects the damage back to them. You don't take any battle damage from it. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Very, very good card. You gotta play 1. And then also, if your Magnificat dies from your opponent's card, you can float into this, so it's very easy. We're also playing the 1 Prima. Prima is good for closing out games, and also something that's really, really cool is the fusion material is a Maestra and 1 or more Melodious monsters, and so if you're expecting to play a lot of mirrors, you can side Super Poly, and in the mirror, you just Super Poly their whole board for Maestra, and this gets really big and can attack twice. So if you're expecting a lot of mirrors, consider playing this with Super Poly in the side, as Super Poly is just the god card in the mirror, especially with Maestra in the extra deck. For the new fusion, we are playing Triple Baka. This card is absolutely absurd. It's Element Kick Kalos kind of absurd. The first line is your activated effects of Melodious fusion monsters can't be negated. So when she uses her effect, for example, she protects herself and your opponent can Ash Blossom it. They can still Imperm, Veil, or Mourner you, because that will negate the first text of the line. But in terms of Ash Blossom or other just random negates, this does protect you. When she summons any Melodious from the deck, which is absolutely insane. And then also, when she's sent to the graveyard, she floats back a Melodious from the grave in defense position. Overall, a fantastic card. You definitely want to max out on her, as you will be going into her the most. We are also playing 2 Schuberta. Schuberta is a very, very good card. It's a Maestra, which does come up for some of the fusion material. Also, it's just a soft once per turn DD Crow, only while it's face up on the field, but that's not a big problem, because you can use the DD Crow effect, use Magnificat to banish till the end phase, it comes back and it has its DD Crow effect again. Being able to just banish 3 cards from the grave is very, very powerful, and not a lot of decks can really deal with that, and a lot of decks are playing out of the grave right now, so overall, playing her at 2 is definitely needed. And now for the start of the show, we've got Magnificat. Magnificat is definitely a broken custom fusion, new support out of Legacy of Destruction. If you don't know what she does, she's essentially better SP Little Knight. She is a non-targeting compulsory evacuation device for your opponent's monsters, but you don't need to bounce your opponent's monsters. So, for example, you summon this on your 5th summon in the combo that I'll showcase. So if you happen to get nibbed, you can just blink your board till the end phase and the nib will stay in hand. Also, if she dies, she does float into the Bloom Diva, which why we play her as well. Overall, fantastic card. You want to play her at 2. 3's not needed, but 2's definitely that sweet spot. Moving on to the Link monsters, we've got 1 Gravity Controller, which is very necessary. A lot of the times, if your opponent imperms or veilers your Baka, the new fusion, you're summoning this in the extra monster zone. So if you ostinato, fuse into Baka, and then Baka gets impermed, you can just make a Gravity Controller, and then Baka will float back a monster. So that's the way to kind of push through that monster getting impermed or veilered or mournered. The Gravity Controller definitely is a necessity. For the other Link monsters, we've got 2 Bloom Harmonious. This card is one of the most custom cards in the archetype. Monsters it points to turn into Utopia the Lightning or Armades, in which your opponent can't activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step, while monsters this card points to battles. Very, very good. But the really broken effect is the fact that you can pitch a card on Link Summon to summon 2 Melodious from your deck with different levels. So yeah, 2 fairy monsters or 2 Melodious monsters, making this floats into 2 more. You can definitely flood the board easily with this card. Definitely absurd. Playing 2 is pretty necessary, especially for the pure. And then for the last 2 Link monsters, we've got 1 Protector of the Agent's Moon and 1 SP Little Knight. Little Knight's pretty self-explanatory, but the reason why we play Moon is this is essentially our out to cards like Skill Drain, Random Floodgates. It could also be like Prism or whatever that hero monster is. I'm blanking on it right now. But yeah, essentially for Skill Drain, because she tributes herself as cost to pop a card on the field. So if you're under Skill Drain, you can just make this, tribute to her, clear the Skill Drain, then continue from there. Overall, I think it's pretty necessary in this deck. And then the last monster we do run is Typhon. This is just a good generic card, and if you're not able to fully combo going second, this just gives you that one last push that can come up from time to time. Now, moving on to the side deck. This can change depending on your locals and depending on what you're expecting, depending on which event you're going to. But for now, the side deck that's working the best for me so far is as follows. We are playing the extra Herald of Orange Light because it's very, very good going second, but can definitely clog going first. So going second, it's a phenomenal card to side in. We're also playing triple Lancia. Now, the reason for Lancia is a few things. It's really, really good against specific decks, such as Voiceless Voice, or if you're playing against Infernoid, for example, or Flunderies, just random decks that banish. But also what this is really good for is this is great paired with another hand trap, because if you're playing against, for example, like a fire deck, and you hand trap them and they open cross out, you can chain Lancia to stop the cross out from resolving to make sure that you're really shutting down their turn. Also, Lancia is very, very good to side in going first as well, because it protects against evenly matched. If you're expecting a deck to play evenly matched, siding this in can save you completely. Lancia, it's been performing pretty well for me overall, but it definitely is a flex spot. We're playing triple Cosmic Cyclone because those pesky back row decks. Also, Runic is still a thing, no matter whether it's stun or combo, so being able to hit the floodgates and the Runic Fountain is very, very powerful. This is also just good if you're going against random specific kinds of decks. Also against fire, you can hit like the field spell, you can hit IP in the spell zone, you can hit the floodgates they side in going first. Overall, Cyclone's pretty self-explanatory. Playing it at 3 in the side is essentially mandatory. And then for the rest of the cards, we are playing a thrust package. So we are playing 2 thrusts. And then the cards to go with triple tactics thrust are Talents, which is a fantastic card going first or second. We are playing Herald of the Abyss. With Delicious Memory coming back to 2, the Pearly representation is going to go up a bit. And so you always want to make sure you have something for Pearly. And so in this case, we have Thrust and Herald of the Abyss. It's a very, very good card. I definitely like it. And then for going first, we've got 2D Barrier. This card's definitely going to be fantastic going into the Legacy of Destruction format, as you can hit things like Tenpai, you can hit cards in the mirror, you can hit Branded, you can hit all bunch of decks, except for fire, essentially. If you're playing against Pearly, this is the God card, and it's settable off Thrust. And then we are also playing 2 Black Goat Laughs. This card, it's just good generically. It's good to put in first against most decks, except for like Flunderies or Paleo, but even then versus Paleo maybe. But overall, this card's very, very powerful. Also, when you play against Tenpai, this is a very good card versus stops them from gaining access to the tuner. You can play this versus Voiceless Voice, for example, pair it with D-Barrier, so you can call Skull Guardian, or if you put this in versus Fire, you can call Flamberge. Definitely a lot of flexibility with this card. I would highly recommend playing it somewhere going into next format. And that's the list. So let's jump right into that combo I was talking about and show you just how far one Ostinato can take you. So let's say you open Ostinato and 4 blanks. It doesn't really matter what the other 4 cards are, but we'll show you just how powerful this can be overall. Don't mind the zones on the mat. We're just going to be playing normally in between the deck and extra deck. So of course, we're going to start off by Ostinato. Ostinato will go ahead and dump us the Tam Tam and Refrain to summon out the Baka. And we will summon this in the extra monster zone, so that way if it gets imp, you can make a gravity controller with it. And then on summon, you'll go ahead and go chain 1 Baka, chain 2 Tam Tam to burn your opponent for 5, and Baka will summon from the deck. In this case, we're going to summon the Shapina. You want to get Shapina out early. It helps get you resources in case you get hand trapped to death. Also, it's a Maestra, so you can make Magnificat with it. But we're going to go ahead and use Shapina to add back the Refrain, and then we'll normal out the Refrain. Refrain effect, grabbing us the Couplé, and then Couplé will trigger, targeting the Tam Tam to special, and Tam Tam on summon will search us Fusion Sub. Already way up in card advantage, which is definitely good. So from here, we've summoned 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we're gonna go ahead and scale the Couplé. Couplé effect will grab us the Concerto, and then we'll go ahead and use Concerto to fuse using the Couplé, the Refrain, and the Maestra. So this will bring us out the Magnificat for 5th summon. So if they have Nib, we can just blink our board till the end phase and go from there. But this will then trigger the both scales because we fusion summoned, and these will scale themselves. We'll go ahead and use Refrain here, sending an Aria. That way we can get that into rotation. And then from here, we'll use these 2 to link off into the Broken Link 2, Bloom Harmonist. We're going 3 chain links here. So we're gonna go chain 1 Concerto because we want Bloom Harmonist to resolve the cards we want to summon before drawing a card, because it can only summon from the deck. So we'll go chain 1 Concerto to put on the bottom and draw a card, chain 2 Bloom Harmonist, pitching the Fusion Sub to summon 2 from the deck, and then chain 3 Baka, targeting the Shapina to summon. So Shapina will summon, Bloom Harmonist will summon 2 from the deck. So in this case, we'll go Elegy and Soprano, and then we'll put a card on the bottom, we'll put the Concerto on the bottom and draw a card. In this case, we'll just go ahead and add a non-engine to our hand to help make this a bit easier visually. On the summon, we'll go ahead and use Soprano effect to add back the Aria, we'll add back the Aria, and then we'll also use the Shapina to add back the Tam Tam. From here, we'll go ahead and use Soprano to fusion summon, using herself in the Bloom to make a Schubert in the EMZ, and then after that, we'll go ahead and Pendulum summon. So we'll Pendulum these 2, and now this is considered special summon, so we've got the lock going, and then Tam Tam on summon will trigger again, adding back the Fusion Sub. From here, we'll go ahead and activate Fusion Sub, fusioning these 2 for another Schuberta, and that gives us up to 6 banishes, a blink up to 5, plus our whole board can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, we can then go ahead and use Fusion Sub to put back the Baka and draw us another card. So with the 5 cards we started in hand, we end with 6 in hand, complete scales, 5 on field, banish up to 6 cards, blink up to 5 cards, and our field can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So as you can tell, this deck is very, very strong. And Ostinato as a 1-card combo is very powerful. There are a lot of different ways you can use Ostinato and build different kinds of boards, but if you're looking for a pure version that sets up this lock, this is definitely the best combo to go for. Overall, I really, really enjoy this deck, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Thank you so much for sticking around this long if you have. Thank you all so much again, and until next time, peace.